My name is Merritt, deployed to Afghanistan in 2016.
Okay. Aren't we better than this? Woe is me, ouchie, my feelings. Let's get out of here.
Be quiet.
Merritt. Everything okay?
I'm sorry.
There's very few films that can elicit a lot of emotion out of me. I just watched My Dead Friend Zoe, and let me tell you, this movie doesn't just pull at your heartstrings, it yanks at them with the force of 1,000 emotions. This movie isn't just good, it's important. It's important not just for casual audiences, but to people who have been to war and known people who have gone to war. But exactly what makes this movie so good? And is it at all realistic? Join me, dear viewer, as I dive back into great movies. Before we dive in, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. And if you really want to make sure you never miss out, ring that notification bell too. It'll help us break through the YouTube algorithm and keep this channel growing strong. At its core, My Dead Friend Zoe is a raw, unfiltered look at the psychological aftermath of war. Now, I can't sit here and pretend that I know what that's like, but I have known people who have gone over to Iraq and Afghanistan, and they came back changed men and women. But what no one seems to talk about is the long-term emotional toll that war has on not only the people fighting, but their friends, family, and everyone back home. My Dead Friend Zoe is a dark comedy drama directed by Kyle Houseman Stokes, inspired by his own military experiences. The film centers on Merritt, played by Sonequa Martin Green, a U.S. Army veteran grappling with PTSD following the death of her best friend and fellow soldier Zoe, played by Natalie Morales. Zoe's presence lingers as an apparition, accompanying Merritt in her daily life and influencing her actions. Sonequa Martin Green gives a career-defining performance as a veteran haunted by the ghost of her best friend. And when I say haunted, I don't mean in a horror movie sense. I mean haunted by the grief, the memories, and the guilt that refuse to let her go. Struggling to cope, Merritt is mandated to attend group therapy sessions led by Dr. Cole, played by Morgan Freeman, who encourages her to confront her trauma. Despite his guidance, Merritt remains resistant, finding solace only in Zoe's spectral companionship. Complicating matters, Merritt's estranged grandfather, Dale, played by Ed Harris, a Vietnam veteran battling early Alzheimer's, requires assistance at the family's lakeside cabin. Merritt takes on the responsibility, leading to a clash of unresolved war experiences and generational perspectives on trauma and healing. Throughout the film, Merritt's interactions with Zoe's apparition serve as both a comfort and a hindrance, preventing her from fully engaging with the world around her and addressing her PTSD. The narrative delves into themes of grief, friendship, and the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life. As Merritt navigates her complex relationships and personal demons, she embarks on a journey toward acceptance and healing. The main message of the movie is interspersed throughout the narrative, and that's talking about and going through someone's PTSD. There's so many veterans who suffer in desperate isolation. The film shows how when Zoe returned from war, she had no one to support her struggle. She felt empty and lost and undertook the ultimate act to end her pain and suffering. This hit me very powerfully because I personally had a friend who this had happened to who also took his own life. The difference between this film and my friend was that he had the support, but he was so far gone in his PTSD that he refused the help. And that's the whole point of the movie, to make sure that veterans understand that there are modes of support available out there. Another wonderful part of the film was the depiction of women in the military who suffer from PTSD. Their stories are rarely told as eloquently as this film manages to do, if at all. The director shows his friend from the military who took his own life at the end of the movie, But instead of making it about a man, he flipped the script and exposed a large gap in how we talk about women's experiences in the military. Women also suffer from trauma. It's not a gender-specific problem, and I'm glad the director made sure to portray that in this film. One aspect of the film that stood out to me was the generational aspect. How do different generations of veterans cope with the trauma of war? During one particularly poignant scene, Ed Harris's character tells his granddaughter that he had to change out of his military uniform at SFO Airport after coming back from Vietnam, but that people still recognized him and spat on him for having gone to Vietnam. That's one major difference between these generations. In the aftermath of the wars in the Middle East, this generation understood the difference between hating the soldiers and hating the politicians who go to war. The protests of 2003, which I personally witnessed, did not disparage the soldiers, but rather went after the people responsible for the death and carnage, namely George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Director Kyle Houseman Stokes, a veteran himself, crafted this film from his own experiences, and you can feel it in every scene. The authenticity, the pain, the moments of levity, it's all there, creating a story that feels both personal and universal. That's what makes My Dead Friend Zoe more than just a movie. It's a conversation starter about grief, about friendship, about healing, and about the invisible battles so many veterans fight every day. The invisible battles no one talks about until now. This movie hit hard for me. I was sitting in the theater crying like a little bitch at the end. Throughout the entire movie, I kept saying to myself, if only. If only my friend had accepted the help his wife was trying to give him. If only the VA was more involved in helping him. If only we as his friends spent more time with him. If only Bush hadn't started that war. If only Dick Cheney wasn't a greedy bastard. If only. If only. If only. I've been saying it for a little while now. I think we finally emerged from the dark age of cinema. We're about to see a new golden age in Hollywood. You heard it here first, folks. If you watch one movie this year, make it this one. Make it My Dead Friend Zoe. Not just because it's brilliantly acted or beautifully shot, but because it actually matters. It gives a voice to the voiceless, and it stays with you long after the credits roll. But what do you guys think about this movie? Do you know any veterans who are struggling? And what exactly are you seeing that's helping veterans going through their struggle? Please do let me know down below in the comments, and as always, hit that like button, ring that notification bell, and smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okie dokie.